Welcome back to my vessel of light. Tonight a small paper directs a whole life. A train ticket with no destination appears, a seat reserved for a decision she avoided, and starting over arrives like weather you can finally read. Amara Velasquez found the ticket folded inside a library book. The ink looked fresh, the date was today. The station was her own. The destination field remained blank. One way glowed like a heartbeat. She turned the slip in her hands and felt time lean. Starting over stopped sounding like failure and started sounding like an unmarked platform. The ticket did not demand an answer. It simply kept breathing. Amara worked at a help desk where problems arrived without breath. Passwords and printers, broken promises between people and their plans. She collected solutions and forgot desires. The ticket interrupted that quiet forgetting politely and persistently. She placed the paper beside her keyboard, wrote 3 rules on a sticky note. Water before worry, breath before reply, kindness before choice. The rules did not solve destiny. They prepared muscles for truth. At lunch, she walked to Central Station. The roof collected light like a careful bowl. Announcements rolled through the air like tides. The ticket warmed in her pocket as if headed toward a ritual. The board flashed names of cities like old wishes. Amara stood under the map and felt both younger and braver. Starting over suddenly sounded like a language she could learn with practice and neighbors. A station attendant named Ruth noticed her staring at the blank field. Ruth said people forget that a ticket without a destination can still be a document. It records a readiness even before a route appears. Amara asked how to use a ticket like that. Ruth smiled and pointed to the benches, then to the clock. Begin by sitting, begin by noticing, begin by telling time to stop being a bully. She sat on bench 7 and created a pocket ritual. 10 slow breaths, a question whispered internally. What am I excited to carry? What am I allowed to lay down? The platform accepted both answers without drama. Trains arrived and departed with dignified thunder. The station tilted her attention toward motion. Yet the blank field asked for patience. A one-way decision deserved kindness. A life does not grow better by being rushed. She pulled out a notebook and titled a page starting over inventory. Under carry, she wrote curiosity. Under lay down, she wrote the habit of apologizing for existing. Under consider, she wrote the job that treats my body like a battery. A boy chased his mother's shadow and laughed in sections. A violinist tuned near the pillar. A janitor polished a small circle of floor until it remembered the sun. The station taught her to witness without grabbing. On the back of the ticket, a number appeared faintly. Seat 12A, Car 2, Departure Unknown. Amara felt the truth under the trick. A seat can be reserved before the destination is chosen. Commitment first, direction next. She visited the window and asked about open destinations. The clerk printed a list of routes with exchange options. He said flexibility increases comfort. Amara thought about how relationships and jobs forgot that sentence regularly. She bought a platform pass and stayed. She watched departures like documentaries about bravery, then practiced the micro-ritual of leaving a little earlier than habit, starting over like people who respect margins. At dusk, she walked home through streets that no longer felt like the only story. She taped the ticket above her desk. The blank field glowed like an honest pause, not a void, not a threat. That evening, she called her sister Noor and described the seat number without drama. They spoke about beginnings that felt like museums of doubt. Noor suggested a trial departure, one small train, 1 hour, return, observe, learn. Amara planned a gentle experiment. Choose a line with 3 stops. Exit where the station smells like bread. Practice being a stranger on purpose. Starting over does not always mean distance. Often it means posture and permission. Morning delivered rain with patient hands. She packed water and a pen. Placed the ticket in a clear sleeve, wore shoes that make the ground feel friendly, and walked towards Central Station with a steady heart. She stood at platform 4 and repeated her rules. Water before worry, breath before reply, kindness before choice. Then she added a 4th line. Truth before timeline. The board agreed with a soft flicker. Train K rolled in with comforting breath. Amara stepped onto car 2 and found seat 12A. The cushion remembered travelers and naps and novels. She placed her hand on the window and felt the city exhale. The conductor punched the ticket without flinching. Blank destinations are not unusual here, he said. We carry many kinds of cargo. Some weigh less after the ride. Some learn their names by mile marker. Outside, warehouses rehearse their geometry. Bridges practice seeing both sides. Puddles kept small skies. Amara wrote a line in her notebook. Movement can teach identity what stability failed to explain gently. At stop 1, she stayed seated and watched a family reunite. At stop 2, she stood and stretched. At stop 3, the smell of bread arrived exactly as planned. She exited and let the platform rename her traveler. The town square held a bakery and a tiny bookstore. She bought a roll and asked the baker for the time. He answered like a friendly bell. The clock replied as if happy to be consulted without urgency. She sat on a low wall and studied strangers being specific. A couple negotiated a grocery list. A teenager practiced a speech to the pigeons. A busker tuned a guitar and waited for a brave first chord. Amara wrote another list titled Keep and Change. Keep walks without headphones. Keep tea before screens. Change mornings that begin with apology. Change hours that do not earn their keep. The list felt like a seat that finally fits. She returned on the next train and watched the city approach with a softer face. The blank field on the ticket looked less like a riddle and more like a promise to negotiate with courage again tomorrow. Back at work, she created a ritual named doorways. Pause at thresholds and breathe twice. Do not carry old conversations into new rooms. Allow starting over to happen 10 times a day without confetti, and still call it progress. A coworker named Milan noticed the ticket taped above the monitor. He said I did that last year with a ferry pass. It trained my legs to believe in departure. My calendar followed later with fewer protests. They started a micro club called Seat 12. Members practice small departures and report back with verbs: leave, return, ask, repair. Their group laughed more and apologized less. The help desk became the laboratory for human timing. Amara visited Central Station weekly and let the board teach vocabulary: exchange, connection, local, express, delay. These words applied to feelings as much as rail lines. She wrote definitions that protected dignity during complicated days. One afternoon, she met Ruth near the benches. Ruth asked whether the blank field had become a friend. Amara said yes, a demanding friend who insists on water and courage. Ruth nodded like the roof nods when rain makes a case. A man on the next bench practiced a breakup speech under his breath. Amara silently wished him mercy. Starting over can be clean or muddy. Both count if the next platform holds more breath than the last. She designed a decision tool called Luggage Check. Write down everything a choice demands you carry, then weigh honestly if the bag breaks your shoulder. Refuse the journey or pack with help. The tools saved a Wednesday from drama. Noor visited for a weekend and rode the 3-stop experiment. They named benches and collected bakery crumbs. Noor said a blank field is a teacher with soft chalk. It draws without scraping the board of your life. Amara laughed and took a photo of the ticket beside a blue mug. She captioned it for herself, permission slip for patience. She did not post it anywhere. The ritual was not a brand. It was a practice. A month passed and the help desk posted a new position, hybrid hours, deeper work with fewer alarms. The role matched her body better. Starting over did not need a new city. It needed a better chair and a kinder list. She applied with a letter that sounded like her now, not her last year voice. She wrote about training calendars to respect lungs, and about learning connection in exchange from the board that names trains without shouting. While waiting, she returned to seat 12A and rode past the bread town to a station with a garden. Volunteers watered herbs between departures. A sign read, "Take a sprig." Amara took mint and learned a new gratitude. Back home, she brewed mint tea and rehearsed another tool. Platform breath. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Name 3 places inside the body that feel available for change. Thank one fear for trying to keep you safe. An email arrived with an interview request. She replied after water, then prepared a 1-page map called Routes I Can Name Kindly. It listed skills learned at odd hours, presence learned under fluorescent lights, patience earned by listening to broken printers confess. Interview day began with rain and mercy. She tucked the ticket into her folder like a witness. The panel asked why this role. She answered with verbs and maps, not slogans. She left feeling like the train had already chosen her. To celebrate, she did not wait. She performed a small departure inside her apartment. She moved the desk toward the window. She donated a chair that never liked backs. She made room for a different view and a deeper breath. The offer arrived 2 days later. She accepted after water and a walk, then visited the station to thank the benches and the board for teaching inside a public classroom where nobody graded and everybody practiced. Amara began mentoring new help desk staff with the Seat 12 Club. She taught luggage check and platform breath. She encouraged 3-stop experiments. She explained that starting over can be respectful of rent and still radical. One evening, the conductor recognized her and asked whether the blank field had changed. She smiled and said it now holds a rotating list of directions. Sometimes north becomes rest. Sometimes east becomes boundaries. Sometimes south becomes a phone call returned. He said, "Excellent. The train prefers passengers who travel with decisions made slowly and kindly." She laughed and noticed that kindness travels faster than impatience, but arrives quieter, which is why people confuse it with delay. Amara wrote a page titled "If I Go Farther." She listed cities that match her rhythm. She listed seasons that suit her muscles. She did not pack yet. She enjoyed the permission of knowing she could. One Saturday, the board flickered and then froze. A system update stalled the schedules. The station fell into a soft uncertainty. People sighed, then found benches and conversations. Starting over sometimes begins with malfunction and cups of tea. She helped an elderly man find a local line by reading a paper timetable. She helped a child count cars to 11. She helped herself remember that community is a vehicle you do not have to drive alone. When the board returned, it flashed a message. "Thank you for your patience." Amara smiled. The city had learned her rule card. Or maybe she had learned the city. Either way, the lesson traveled both directions. Noor texted a picture of her own ticket taped above a kitchen calendar. 3-stop experiment continued in another town now. Family becomes a network of platforms where encouragement changes trains and still arrives on time. Amara finally filled the destination field once, not forever. She wrote a coastal town name for a week-long break. One way for now, return to be determined by breath. She laughed at the honesty and packed a small bag. On the coast, she watched gulls practice circles over a patient harbor. She walked early and slept on purpose. She ate soup slowly. She wrote that rest is also a kind of starting over when done without guilt. Returning, she felt the city rise to meet her. The job fit like a repaired jacket. She kept the ticket in the cloth sleeve. Seat 12A continued to be a promise more than a seat. Occasionally, she still rode without a destination chosen. She let the smell of bread or mint decide. She trusted that a life can be devoted to repair and still dream about maps. She trusted the blank field again. If you are listening and a decision waits like a train outside your window, try a 3-stop experiment. Practice luggage check. Breathe at doorways and let the board teach you to spell starting over without shouting. Thank you for being here with my vessel of light. If this story kept you company, like the video so the candle travels farther. Subscribe to my vessel of light and share one small departure you will try this week.